Hi Saviors, GH here. Today we're going to take a look at a particular build which consists of Musketeer, TigerHunter, and Hunter. We're going to be taking a closer look at the abilities, how it performs, how it can be used, and why each of these classes are here in this build, the pros and the cons, and some final thoughts to finish up the video. And with that said, here is the Raid Huntsman build. Let's do this. Okay, here's the build. We got the TigerHunter, the Musketeer, and Hunter. Let's start with Hunter. Hunters are trainers who hunt enemies using companions, and the reason this class is here is because it works with Musketeer, making it more effective in hunting single target enemies. Aside that, it can also add a variety of debuffs that can help in combat situation. Let's take a look at the skills. First one we have here is Coursing. This is the skill that works with Musketeer skills, making them hit critical 100% when the target is under Coursing. Now, Coursing in itself is a companion attack that lasts 5.5 seconds. And while Coursing is active, enemy physical and magic defense is lowered. Next skill is Praise. This is a buff that increases Hunter skill damage by 30% for 30 minutes. And you can also use this to heal and teleport your companion beside you. Third skill is Hounding. You can use this to detect hidden enemies, and it also gives you a plus 1000 loot buff at level 5. This is a very important skill in challenge mode. Use this every minute you're inside challenge mode. To be able to boost the loot buff, you can ask an oracle for a plus 1 level of Hounding, which makes the loot buff plus 1200. And you can also get a Savage Bow, which can add plus 2 level to all Hunter skills. So if you have Oracle buff plus Savage Bow, in total you will get plus 1600 loot buff. And we're not done yet. There's a Hounding gem that adds plus 1 level, and you can put that into your Savage Bow. So in total, you have 1800 loot buff. That's a lot. Next skill is Retrieve. This is another companion attack that makes enemies bleed for 20 seconds. Next skill is Howling. At level 10, it will reduce enemy crit resist by 50%. I don't know about you, but that will help you and your teammates hit crit most of the time. If you have Savage Bow, it will reduce 60%. Next and final skill we're gonna cover is Growling. To put it simply, after using this, your companion will growl and inflict debuffs on enemies, making them unable to move and be prone to missile attack damage. One thing to remember here is it only affects a few targets. Not every enemy will be frozen in fear. And don't move too far from your pet, or else the growling will cancel. You can just use Praise to teleport your pet if you really need it to continue growling and follow you. And that's Hunter. In many ways, this class is very helpful. Now let's take a look at Musketeer. Now, Musketeer specialize in using muskets. Who would have known? This class is here because this is where we will get the main damaging skills we will use for boss hunting. And those skills are: first is Sniper Serenity. This is a self buff for 30 seconds that makes your minimum attack closer to your maximum attack, and equal if you charge it all the way. Another one of its effect is final damage is increased by 50% when critical hit occurs. In exchange for those buffs, your movement speed will be lowered while the buff is active. Increasing the level will hasten the charge time and lessen the movement speed decrease. Next skill is Snipe. It's an attack that gets increased damage if the enemy is bleeding, which you can do with Retrieve and Headshot. It also gets damage increase when Sniper Serenity is active, and it hits critical 100% when the target is inflicted by the Coursing debuff. There's a Vibora weapon for this that increases its damage depending on your block penetration and the enemy's block. It may seem complicated, but just use Retrieve first, then Coursing, then headshot, the next skill, then snipe. Now headshot is a single target musket attack that stuns and makes enemies bleed. A perfect skill to use in tandem with snipe. This is another skill that hits critical 100% when the target is inflicted by the coursing debuff. So retrieve, coursing, headshot, then snipe. But before you do that, use Sniper Serenity first, and the next buff, which is called Grooving Muzzle. Basically, this buffs your attacks, but more importantly, it gives additional critical chance when attacking with muskets by 50%. That's a lot. Next skills are Volley Fire, Covering Fire, and Penetration Shot. All of those are decent area attacks. Most people choose Covering Fire to max out and help for mobbing, some the others. But to be honest, whatever you do, Musketeer is not good for mobbing. And lastly, you can reset all Musketeer skills by using Prime and Load. And that's Musketeer, a must if you're looking to increase single target damage. The next and last class is TigerHunter. Now TigerHunter is a boss hunting class. This is usually taken if you have Musketeer because they work together, and that's the reason it's here. TigerHunter skills consist of abilities that further increase the damage output of the build against boss type monsters. Those skills are as follows. First is Tracking. This is a self buff that enables you to debuff enemies with Prey debuff, which increases musket damage by 50%. This is another important skill to use before unleashing all offensive abilities. Next skill is Eye of the Tiger. It's a buff that increases your minimum crit rate to 30%, which means even if you have low crit rate, you will still have a good chance of landing a critical hit. Third skill is Camo Shot. This is a buff that makes you invisible and gives you a chance to stay hidden while you're attacking. I don't know about this one because most of the time I appear first at the first shot, but sometimes it works. So yeah. Next skill is Ambush. This is a dashing attack that may stun enemies, and there's a Mistrus weapon for this that gives it an additional effect that dismounts enemies when they are hit with ambush, and it also prevents them from mounting within the next 10 seconds. If you like PvP, this might come in handy. Second to the last ability is Piercing Shot. This is probably one of your most useful area attacks in this build. Now, the last skill is Rapid Shot. This is another very good single target ability. Use this alongside Snipe and Headshot. And yeah, there's an art for TigerHunter, not really in a specific skill. When you take it, you get 30% damage against boss type monsters. And that's the build, a very useful build for boss fighting. And now let's do the good and the bad. Let's start with the bad, the cons. First, it's not a surprise, this build is real bad for mobbing. Another thing here is, one of the key abilities in this build dampens your mobility. And the ability to move fast is really important. So I guess, just master turning on and off Sniper Serenity. And lastly, for the love of everything holy, IMC, just make the pet companion work properly, because sometimes it just won't work. And the HP and stamina thing it has makes it even worse. Anyway, let's do the good stuff. This build is probably the best boss fighting class build in the Archer class 3. For now, because some class might get rebalanced soon and we might see a replacement for Hunter. Another thing is, even though you have a low crit rate, this build will still work because most of its skills help in getting crit damage easily. Lastly, PvP. Musketeers has always been good in PvP, and this class is no different. All in all, if you want to make an Archer build for boss fighting, this is it. You might want to change Hunter for some reason, but think about it, because Hunter will be helpful in challenge mode. And that's the build. Let me ask you, do you think this is perfect for endgame content, or do you want to change something in this build? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below, and if you like the video, hit the thumbs up share, and then subscribe to be part of the Gaming Hardcore family. And as always, this is Gaming Hardcore. See you in the next one.